Everything.
I didn't never know him. I've never known him. I saw his name in my paperwork, but I
saw his name in your paperwork?
Yeah, and I didn't know who he was.
Oh, man, I saw that.
Yeah, we on Boss Talk 101.
Here we go. Shout out to Boss Talk. I fucks with them. Miss Jamaica. I don't know why I can't think of dog name right now.
In the interview that, in his paperwork, you know how when you go to prison, whatever, you got your paperwork back. And for some reason, in his paperwork, your name was in the paperwork.
So they got all this during the Contra affair, like when all that shit going on.
Yeah.
So I kind of got caught up in the Contra. You know that shit, Snowfall. That's when I got.
So you had interaction with all of them.
Yeah, think about it. This is the time, you know, we interviewed Freeway Ricky Ross.
Right.
And that was during that time.
So you knew him and everything.
I didn't never know him. I've never known him. I saw his name in my paperwork.
I saw his name in your paperwork?
Yeah, and I didn't know who he was.
Oh, man, I saw that.
Yeah, he did say that. It was before he went. He said that's what he was saying.
That guy was bullshit from the start. You know what I'm saying?
So your name was
not in there? You know him?
I never heard of him before.
Then why? So you don't? So your name was not in his paperwork.
He wouldn't know if he don't know him.
I don't know the guy. I never heard of him. But the stuff that he was saying, this was something happened in Oklahoma.
In Oklahoma.
In 80, what did he say, 84 or something like that.
Yeah, it was early on.
At the time, I was getting apprehended, going to prison around 87. Like 2 years later after I graduated, then that's when all that was transpiring. So I was back and forth in the way. But while I'm in Oklahoma, I meet a dude in LA, from LA. And he was the plug, right? He didn't know he was a square, never hustled before, nothing. You know, I've been doing this all my life, so.
Okay, y'all. We gonna cut that. We ain't gonna feed off into Big Boz and Freeway Ricky having a problem. We ain't gonna do that, man. Let's be clear. First of all, this whole paperwork thing is what it is because, and then which paperwork are we talking about? We talking about your sentencing paperwork, your arrest sheet, you know what I'm saying? The discovery, what are we talking about? Because anybody that's had a case, you didn't have shit in your discovery and people you didn't know that didn't pertain to you at all. Or your case. Motherfuckers done had people telling on them that they ain't never met a day before in their life. It's all kind of games that's being played or that are played when it comes to being in the streets, or when it comes to not even necessarily being in the streets, when it comes to committing crime for a living. It's all kind of things that come along with that. And where we find ourselves at is, well, what is the street code? What is the street code? There isn't one. There isn't one. There are a list of rules that we all like to think applies, but they do not. They do not. The only rules that apply is self-survival. And however somebody feels as though they are best surviving, that's the choice they're gonna make. If somebody feels it's better for them to snitch or tell or rat or whatever the case may be on someone else, then that's what they're gonna do. If someone thinks the best thing for them to do is to sit down and take, that's what they're gonna do. And that's what all boils down, what's best for you. Now, the only code of the streets is we doing this shit to get out of it. It's very few people that say they sell drugs because they want to. So either we're all lying, well, I'm not involved anymore, but either everybody's lying or everybody's confused, because if the goal of the game is to get out, then why is part of the game to carry the shit with you that you got away from in the first place? And your real friends that watch you come from nothing to something, they ain't gonna want you around none of that bullshit once you get to a point where you don't have to be. They ain't gonna want you around that shit because you they way out. We are tricking ourselves to believe that we need to hold ourselves. This the street code. This the street code. but everybody else playing with a book this thick. How the fuck are we gonna win in a game with a playbook for the game is this thick, and we working with the rules on this receipt that Uncle Cletus left us? You know what I'm saying? Let's be clear. There is not one big gangster or mob boss that we know of that didn't have somebody arrested or use the police in the way they see fit. The whole idea of being a street boss when you make it up to that top level is to have all them resources. It is to be able to call a politician. It is to be able to lean on the police. It is to make this or that stop happening on this street. That's the goal. If you're going to stay in the game for a lifelong time, if that ain't your goal, then what you doing it for? Whatever it is you're doing, it's going to cause interaction with other people. For us to just totally expect that you can make it to a certain level of the game and not be in jail and allowed to operate, and you're not cross-pollinating. That's an unrealistic truth. It's not even, it's a fantasy. Whatever gangster, whatever drug dealer, whoever, you gonna search their history, especially if they successful, and you gonna find something questionable. It may not be questionable to him, but it may be questionable to you. It may not be questionable to y'all, but it's questionable to them. And in that respect, what is the street code? I followed what I thought was the street code to the T. And one day some people got arrested on their own, doing shit I told them not to do. And the first thing I heard in that phone call was shit bigger than Nino Brown. Now, any person that ever seen movies, you know what that line mean and what came after that line was made in the movie. So all this no snitching shit, most of the people telling you don't snitch, they ain't never had nobody to snitch on where they can get out of jail anyway. So how would they know? They ain't never been tested. It's like saying you got a friend that don't steal, but both of y'all never had more than $500. So of course he ain't steal a change out your car. He ain't steal a couple dollars on your dress, and he ain't steal your clothes. Nah. But now you hit the lottery and you got 20 million. So now, instead of it being change in your car, it's $500-600 in there. Now, instead of it being a couple of dollars sitting on your dresser, you got thousands of dollars in change. You got a stack over here, a stack over there. That might be too tempting. And then he might think you ain't gonna need it. Because that's the number one thing about people that love you or think they love you. They think they got a good gauge on what you do and don't need and what they can take without hurting you. Is that the street code? All right. Whatever, bottom line, this shit that we holding each other to is very contradictory. I see this got my sign, man. This guy bothers me. This guy bothers me. The double talking hypocrisy of it all. He says, yo, I took a charge for somebody while I had $1 million record deal, and the charge was robbing a cab driver at gunpoint. I mean, at Bottle Point. What type of friend would allow you to take that charge for them in that situation? And you telling me the streets mean something? You went to jail for a hundred some odd dollar lick, and you was $1 million guy in your 20s. What type of 22-year-old street nigga is involved in any type of robbery? I mean, some of these stories, although I understand shit happened, it kind of sound like my 12-year-old talking to me, because you made a choice to put yourself in that situation somehow, and once in that situation, you made some choices. And then before that situation, you made some choices to whereas shit like that could even be around you or going down with you. But either way, no judgment. We all accepted this guy back, right? Now, this same guy from that situation is harassing someone else who was brought into a situation where someone tried to kill them. Twice. In a room full of black people. Now, this black activist is upset that the man who had his life almost taken is telling what happened. But rewind, bro. If you down for the betterment of black people, for number one, why you care about the street code? Number two, wouldn't it mean more to get the guy who opened fire in a room full of black people off the streets than it does to antagonize a legitimate businessman who's been paying taxes for the past, 12 years? Who somebody tried to take his life at his job? Like, see, this street code shit is very contradictory, because then you get guys with fake ass beards trying to tell you what real is. And I'm gonna keep it a bean pal with you. Some of these guys that went to jail in their 20s or their teens and all of that shit, talking about some they held it down, the human brain ain't even all the way developed in. So you saying you held it down, but really when you lay in your bed at night, you might be thinking you stupid. Or was stupid. But you ain't sharing that with these kids. And while you talking about what the street code is, let me ask you, after you done milked the black community dry on every death that we done seen in the past 2 years, getting your piece of these checks, would you be willing to go sit down in jail because somebody tried to kill you and you ended up getting the better of it, no matter how it started? Point being, they tried to kill you, you ain't trying to kill them? I bet you would not. And we need to quit judging each other like that, man. Especially when you know it's some shit you wouldn't stand up in. Now, I don't want to keep talking about this specific situation or this mysonne nigga, but he is the problem with the black community. That's the biggest example. It ain't the killers. It ain't the snitches. It's the motherfuckers playing the 50. It's the motherfuckers playing the 50. Yo, R.I.P. this guy, but free the guy that killed him. Nigga, what the fuck? What the fuck? So with that being said, I ask you, what is the street code? What is the street code? If you're in jail and everybody around you tells and snitches on you, guarantee the fact you're going down. Now, I'm just your friend. I have nothing to do with this, but they picked me up because I'm your friend. Now, I ain't said shit. But everybody you fuck with and told everything. Everybody you got money with told everything. I ain't got no money with you. I ain't killed nobody. None of that shit. Me and you ain't did dirt since we got out of high school. And now we grown ass men and they got me in cuffs because I'm your friend and you ain't saying shit, right? But all your people snitch. And now me and my lawyer sitting there, they reading through the discovery. It's like you holding, you about to go to jail for somebody that's for sure going to jail. Then what should you do? What's the street code then? What's the man code then? What's the father code then? Because to be honest with you, in my eyes, the street code is for your mans to never even allow you to be in that situation, because by you being the legitimate one, you're going to be the only one that can really help him, assist him, or even keep his shit going. So before we get to your man snitching on you, why you got your mans in that situation? And then why you got something to say about your mans saying something if all the people you was doing dirty with didn't already told? At that point, it's just a formality. It's just yeah, exactly. It's just a formality. Because it's like, okay, I could cooperate with these guys said, which they all don't need me to do, and be done. Now, me personally, which is why you see me always rolling along, I don't necessarily agree with that, but as a chess player, that is a move on the board that you can pull. It is a possibility, you understand? And that's that. It is a possibility. And we can't keep knocking people for how they choose to survive throughout this bullshit. We can't. Ain't too much we can say to them. Whatever somebody feels as though they got to do to be a father, then pretty much that's what it is. A lot of us jumped into selling drugs. Why? To be a father. Some of us jumped out of the streets. Why? To be a father. And when you talk about somebody trying to drag you into a grave as well as drag you back into the streets, and you done got out of it, yeah, you should be trying to do everything you can. And then lastly, this whole street code shit is some bullshit. This is a macho machismo business. It used to be about being a player, and now it's not. So if you're involved in the street, the code is dog eat dog. That's the only code in the street that continues. Dog eat dog, and a pack of dogs eat together. But if you weaken a pack of dogs, they'll eat you. Now, that's the street code. That's the motherfucking street code. With that being said, I'm out of this bitch, man. Y'all quit telling motherfuckers that they shouldn't be snitching, and then you do an interview with Angela Yee telling the whole story when you could have nipped shit in the bud from the beginning. Is that the street code? Is it the street code when people don't want to play your music and you harass and bully them? Is that the street code? Come on, man. We use that term, the street code, to justify a whole bunch of bullshit, and what has happened is, just like the word vibe, these words have been used so much to explain shit that's not relative to the beginning of the word, that the word now has no meaning. The word street code has absolutely no meaning. And it ain't because of snitches, but it's because of all you hypocrites. All you hypocrites. No street nigga that made it out the game, that really was in the streets, that made it out the game, gives this type of advice. And then when I start pulling you guys' arrest records, none of you guys were arrested for being a big time drug dealer. Petty ass arrest. Most of you motherfuckers talking shit, trying to tell these boys what they should be doing with themselves, have embarrassing ass arrest records. Shit that I would have hung myself for if I got arrested for fucking robbing a cab driver. I will run down the list of some of these people promoting the street code, run down the list of their arrest record. And it's fucking embarrassing. It's like when they accuse T.I. of snitching. Everybody talking about, did he snitch, did he not snitch? And you know what I'm caught on? You already had an album out and you was boosting clothes, J. Crew style. Oh, hell no. As soon as I deduced that from his information, I felt bad. Cause shit, I've been listening to this dude for a very long time and I felt misled. I ain't heard the T.I. song about boosting clothes and blaming it on Toot when they found the gun. I never heard that song. So what is the street code? What is it? I tell you this, everybody talking that street code shit, saw this nigga Troy Ave say the streets is a myth on the Breakfast Club, and been watching him move around the city. The nigga shooting videos everywhere in New York. It's a wall and light at them, a lot of different places, because they got a whole lot of motherfucking walls. And ain't nobody did or said a goddamn thing to this man, but you want to harass him on the internet to the rest of us. That don't seem like a genuine care. That seems like an agenda. Obviously, this nigga was damned if he did, damned if he don't. And then it brings me back to it. So what is the street code? Because two men not being able to take an ass whooping from two other men is some real bitch shit. Now that's a violation of the street code right there. If it's you and your man, me and my man, and you've been talking shit and we offer to fight you and you pull a gun, that ain't the street code. But what I've come to notice, and I'm gonna say this and get up out of here, the street code don't exist because motherfuckers bend, break, pick and choose the rules to fit the situation they in. And that's the street code. Everybody out here finessing. Because the same motherfucker telling you or preaching to you against snitching a tell on somebody if he could. And be an undercover informant if he could. Don't none of us know what we'll do because we ain't never been offered shit. So it's easy to sit around and tell everybody else what we can't do because we can't do much because we ain't got shit. So let me add this to you, your criminal organization and your street code. Start telling people what they can do. Start telling yourself what you can do. And I bet that'll change the results that we getting out of these situations. So instead of you having somebody leaving to snitch on you, they might need you to put 15 bands with they 15 bands and y'all go buy a rig. They might need all type of different things, but without you being a proper leader and suggesting little things and planting seeds, you'll never get that, man. And man, quit listening. I'm gonna tell you like my mama told me. If a motherfucker go to jail, been to jail for crimes that they committed or was around of, then that mean they not good at it. Then that's why they got caught for it. So taking advice from criminals who have been to jail about how not to go to jail or or how you should hold it in the streets, it's not necessarily a good thing. I mean, it's not necessarily a good thing. To be honest with you, that's like me calling MC Hammer for financial advice. MC Hammer could damn sure tell me everything not to do. He could tell me everything not to do. He probably know it perfect. But seeing how it went for him, he might not, even though he know everything not to do, he might not know everything to do. And you need to know the difference, because you're going to be needing information from all people. And with that being said, we for sure out this bitch that time. Don't worry about the street code. Worry about yourself. Worry about yourself. And the number one thing in the street is you got to be on man time. And if you ain't taking care of yourself and your business, then nothing past the code even matter. And that's what's funny to me, man. You got all these motherfuckers with all this arguing and talking about this and talking about that. Motherfuckers be on child support, ain't seeing their kids, and you worried about what another man doing with his freedom. What the fuck? The street code is to mind your own fucking business. I'm for sure that's a major part of the street code. But, hey, nobody does that shit anymore. So picking and choosing what parts of the streets we about to follow, you know what I'm saying? A man wearing open-toed shoes in the city is against the street code. But I see a lot of you gangsters doing that. Shit, a man sitting with his feet out in front of people is against the street code. But I see a lot of you niggas doing that. You know what I'm saying? All this gossiping y'all sit up here and doing, y'all don't even kick game to the kids. It's just a whole gossip. I think they should fest. Ain't no real nothing for these kids to stand on. Furthermore, motherfuckers who beg to be a part of something will never understand what a person who built something had to go through. Period. Motherfuckers out here looking for deals will never understand what a motherfucker who ain't never had a deal got to go through to live the same. You just won't. It's just differences. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no different than the manager understanding what it's like to be a part of the team, or the team leader understanding what it's like to be a manager. And that's just me shooting game and information. I ain't gonna shoot no bullshit at a nigga unless I automatically got to. You know what I'm saying? I wish everybody the best, but we need to quit being hypocrites for clicks. Some of you guys, if you as talented as you say, man, you ain't got to spend your day antagonizing another black man for motherfuckers to fuck with you on a podcast or fuck with you on an interview or go to your show. You could just make better music. You know what I'm saying? Could just do that. Anyways, we out.